In the work of Plato, the soul, with the psyche of man, is presented as a chariot. And I think this is a useful model for self-analysis and reflection and meditation. It's also a beautiful, powerful, and evocative model. I don't want to think of my soul as a ghost in a cheap sheet. I'd much rather think of my soul as a radiant, golden chariot, pulled by winged and galloping horses, whipped and driven and reined in by a sharp and decisive driver. It's a magnificent metaphor, and I like the way it works as a concept. Plato introduced this idea in Phaedrus in the context of a discussion about love. Plato said that the gods have two noble horses, but that men have one horse that is noble and of noble origin, and another horse that is ignoble and of ignoble origin. He described love as a divine madness in which you catch a glimpse, a hint of beauty that is eternal in another person. And the noble horse wants to proceed toward that person in the name of beauty and righteousness, so it is easily persuaded by a reasonable charioteer. While the ignoble horse is wild and base and lusty. It wants to rush in recklessly to satisfy its hunger, so it has to be reined in and punished. Love, this divine madness, can only be fruitful and positive if both horses are tamed by logic and reason. In Plato's Republic, he imagines a perfect city. He expands on this idea of the tripartite soul in a broader sense, as he relates it to the social classes of his utopian city-state. His three parts of the soul and his three classes of men are characterized by three qualities. Logos, logic, reason. That's the charioteer. And in the context of Plato's ideal city-state, it represents the class of men who should rule. Men who demonstrate a love for wisdom and goodness, and truth and right order. The second quality is thumos. You'll also see it as thymos. It's translated as high-spiritedness, masculine emotion. It can either be a righteous anger for justice, or if not reined in by logos, it can lead to fury, unproductive outbursts, and bloodlust. In the context of Plato's ideal city-state, it represents the protective or warrior class, the military and the police, the men who defend and enforce order. And third, appetite. I've seen this portrayed as eros, but it seems to really mean appetite, and we don't want to confuse it and profane the god eros. Appetites are human, and our hungers drive us to work and make money and eat and drink and reproduce. They are absolutely necessary. Pleasure and hunger are good, but appetites unchecked by reason can lead us to vice and dissolution and away from our higher purpose. In the context of Plato's ideal city-state, it represents the productive class. Businessmen, craftsmen, farmers, all the people you need to support the other two classes, and really even to make them necessary. The productive part of society keeps things going. They perpetuate it. And the productive part of our natures keeps us alive. Plato's utopian city-state was cradle-to-grave totalitarianism. And while he was trying to imagine a society governed by reason, I wouldn't want to live in that society. It was a cold, Vulcan ideal. A society that censored poets and controlled religion. It would have become stagnant, and like all totalitarian societies, and despite Plato's best intentions, in a few generations it would have descended into tyranny and corruption. But Plato made a lot of valuable and interesting observations about man's nature and his soul. And I think that this tripartite system, this metaphor of the chariot, this chariot of the soul, is a useful tool to examine one's own impulses and check them and rein them in, to make sure that you are the driver of your own chariot, to make sure that you are being driven by your own higher purpose, to make sure that you are being driven by your ideals and not by your appetites or your anger. Plato's tripartite model of the soul also lines up with many other models of threes, such as Dumézil's trifunctional organization of Indo-European societies and gods into sovereign, military, and productive classes. For instance, among the Germanic gods, there is Odin, Thor, and Frey. You can see something similar in Robert Moore's King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, if you combine the king and the magician, as Dumézil would. I even see the same echo in Ryan Michler's popular motto for men, protect, provide, preside. These same elements, the same heights and pitfalls, are all there. These tripartite models are repeated over and over again because they speak to something eternal in the nature of man. They help us make sense of our world as we struggle to impose order on the chaos in the world around us and the chaos